There's a moment from the early 1980s that so many fans can't forget. Shelley Duvall, eyes wide with terror, voice trembling, locked in a tense standoff with Jack Nicholson in The Shining. It's a scene that remains etched into the collective memory of film lovers everywhere. Even decades later, that single, harrowing expression seems to encompass both Shelley's unique on-screen presence and the extraordinary lengths she once went to for the sake of her craft. Watching her there, battered by the ruthless atmosphere of Stanley Kubrick's set, you could sense her raw vulnerability, her capacity to pour genuine emotion into her roles. And yet behind that iconic shot was a soft-spoken Texan woman who never quite felt at home in Hollywood, a woman whose shy grin and offbeat charm had first captivated legendary director Robert Altman. It's an image that leads us to wonder, how does a gentle, earnest soul handle the massive glare of cinematic fame, only to withdraw almost entirely for years, battling private demons far from the spotlight? That question lingers whenever Shelley Duvall's name is mentioned. Through her highest highs and heartbreaking lows, her story is one that resonates with anyone who remembers a time when film took bold artistic risks and sometimes left its most sensitive performers to bear the heaviest burdens. Shelley Alexis Duvall was born on July 7, 1949, in Fort Worth, Texas. She grew up in Houston, surrounded by a warm, supportive family, though she was never quite the typical Texas girl. Her father, Robert Bob Duvall, was a lawyer, and her mother, Bobby Ruth Crawford, worked in real estate. According to Shelley, her parents encouraged her to pursue whatever made her happy. She had 3 younger brothers, and between them, the house buzzed with youthful energy. From an early age, Shelley stood out because of her lanky frame and her quirky sense of humor. She didn't think of herself as Hollywood material. She was more drawn to painting, drawing, and exploring quirky little creative endeavors that people in her neighborhood often found endearing. At one point, she considered a future in the arts, or maybe becoming a scientist, but acting was nowhere on her horizon. That changed almost by accident in the late 1960s. She was studying nutrition and diet therapy at South Texas Junior College, living an ordinary student life. Then in 1970, she attended a gathering with friends, unaware that the famed director Robert Altman was present. He was in Texas filming Brewster McCloud and scouting for fresh faces. Shelley's unique look and effervescent personality caught Altman's eye right away. He was known for casting actors who felt real and unpolished, often defying typical Hollywood standards of beauty or behavior. When he saw Shelley, he reportedly told her she was perfect for his film, offering her a screen test on the spot. At first she hesitated. This was a world she had no plans to enter, but curiosity nudged her forward. She agreed, and just like that, her life took a dramatic turn. By the time she was 21, she had landed a part in Brewster McCloud, 1970, playing the free-spirited character Suzanne. Though she'd never trained formally as an actress, Altman's set became her classroom, and her openness to experience gave her a natural charm in front of the camera. Throughout the early 1970s, Shelley found a mentor in Robert Altman. He gave her roles that capitalized on her offbeat appeal and endearing vulnerability. She had small parts in films like McCabe and Mrs. Miller, 1971, and Thieves Like Us, 1974. These roles weren't huge, but each collaboration taught her how to be at ease in front of the camera. She became Altman's muse of sorts, a fresh presence in an era brimming with experimental filmmaking. The 1970s, after all, was a time when Hollywood was in flux. Directors had more creative control, and they wanted new faces that broke from the polished style of the 1950s and early 1960s. Shelley fit right into the new Hollywood wave, even if she never felt entirely comfortable in it. Critics praised her as an actress who could make you believe she was just an ordinary person, caught in extraordinary circumstances. Then came her breakout performance in Altman's Three Women, 1977. She portrayed Millie Lamoureux, a woman desperate for connection in a strange Californian desert town. Starring alongside Sissy Spacek, Shelley delivered a performance that was both comedic and tragic, as Millie's chirpy optimism kept hitting the brick wall of social isolation. The role earned Shelley the Best Actress award at the Cannes Film Festival, an immense honor for someone who had never expected to be in movies at all. People started to see that behind her wide eyes lay a genuine gift for revealing the fragile dimensions of human nature. Altman described her as a natural, someone who didn't act so much as exist in front of the camera, and the camera, in turn, adored her authenticity. During these years, she also had a brief cameo in Woody Allen's Annie Hall, 1977, further cementing her presence in the cinematic zeitgeist of that decade. Life was moving quickly for Shelley. She was developing a reputation as a bright star in a generation of free spirits. People like Karen Black, Ellen Burstyn, and, on the male side, the wandering anti-heroes such as Jack Nicholson and Al Pacino. The old guard was fading, and these new faces were making waves. Yet for all her success, Shelley remained a bit of an outsider. She wasn't the type to lounge at parties schmoozing with big-name producers, nor did she feel especially drawn to the glitzy side of Hollywood. At heart, she was still the imaginative girl from Texas who liked doodling cartoons and exploring odd ideas. Many colleagues found her unpretentious and gentle. She struggled with large social scenes and was more likely to be found in a quiet corner, engaged in thoughtful conversation with a friend. That reluctance to fully embrace stardom would, over time, become both a hallmark of her personality and a source of future struggles. Everything changed drastically in 1978 when Stanley Kubrick cast Shelley as Wendy Torrance in his film adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining. While many recall the behind-the-scenes stories focusing on Jack Nicholson's intensity, the production turned into a trial by fire for Shelley. Kubrick was notoriously obsessive, often pushing actors to perform scene after scene until they reached a level of raw authenticity that bordered on psychological distress. For Shelley, filming from 1978 into 1979 at London's Elstree Studios meant a grueling schedule and constant emotional strain. She later revealed that Kubrick required her to do 127 takes of the baseball bat confrontation scene, an unimaginable task that left her exhausted and teary-eyed. It's worth noting how her performance was initially received. Some critics at the time called her portrayal shrill or unfocused. But over the years, there's been a significant reevaluation. Modern audiences recognize that Shelley's Wendy, while often trembling with fear, conveys the desperate resolve of a woman trying to protect her child from a rapidly unraveling husband. The trembling hands, the teary eyes, the mounting hysteria, these were not just an actress overdoing it. They reflected genuine exhaustion and anxiety triggered by Kubrick's methods. In a sense, Shelley's real emotional turmoil became part of Wendy's character, and that's why the performance remained so haunting. The Shining went on to become a masterpiece of horror cinema, and Shelley's contribution to its lasting legacy is enormous. After the massive exposure of The Shining, 1980, Shelley took on another high-profile role as Olive Oyl in Robert Altman's Popeye, also 1980, co-starring Robin Williams. This was something of a reunion for Shelley and Altman, though the production had its own set of stresses. Complicated location shoots in Malta, heavy makeup routines, and the challenge of bringing a cartoon world to life. Critics were mixed, but audiences admired Shelley's perfect comedic flair as Popeye's lanky love interest. She managed to capture the cartoonish nature of Olive Oyl without losing the human vulnerability she always brought to her roles. While Popeye never achieved the classic status Altman had hoped for, it remains a cult favorite, particularly for fans who grew up watching it in the early days of cable television. In the early 1980s, Shelley seemed poised for continued stardom. She had a run of smaller, fascinating roles in films like Time Bandits, 1981, and in television through her creation of Fairy Tale Theater, 1982 to 1987. The children's series was a testament to her creativity and fascination with storytelling. She produced and hosted each episode, adapting well-known fairy tales with a rotating cast of big Hollywood names. Children across America came to love her whimsical introductions, cherishing the show for its clever mix of humor and magic. Behind the scenes, Shelley worked tirelessly to bring these fairy tale episodes to life, coordinating with directors and actors, selecting costumes, and even writing parts of the scripts. This era showed a different side of Shelley, the producer, the creative visionary, the grown-up who still believed in a spark of childhood wonder. But cracks began to show in the late 1980s. After years of stressful shoots and the pressure to keep her production projects afloat, Shelley started to exhibit signs of fatigue and increased anxiety. She had ventured out of purely acting roles into producing, but that shift also meant dealing with the complexities of budgets, scheduling, and the politics of television networks. While she found it rewarding to bring imaginative stories to children, the sheer workload became overwhelming. By the early 1990s, her on-screen appearances grew sporadic. Films like Roxanne, 1987, and The Underneath, 1995, marked her final notable roles for a while. Audiences who had adored her as Wendy Torrance and Millie Lamoureux were seeing less and less of her. The bright star from the 1970s faded from the Hollywood horizon, almost without a goodbye. It wasn't just career fatigue. Shelley had begun to struggle deeply with her mental health. Accounts from friends suggest that she became increasingly withdrawn, sometimes exhibiting paranoid fears or confusion. By the mid-1990s, it was clear she was going through more than just a creative slump. She was grappling with a significant mental health crisis. Rather than publicize it, she chose to slip away from the spotlight. Hollywood was a machine that thrived on constant productivity and self-promotion. Shelley wanted no part of that. People whispered rumors of her whereabouts, but few could confirm exactly where she had gone. Some said she'd moved to a rural part of Texas, while others mentioned she might be in California. She rarely gave interviews and turned down most project offers. Her decision to step back aligned with a broader pattern that had emerged among some of the new Hollywood figures. The industry that once celebrated free-spiritedness was now leaning toward blockbuster franchises and younger, bankable stars. Artists who thrived on risk and personal expression sometimes felt squeezed out by an era of commercialism. Shelley, already fragile, was left behind in many ways, though for her it was partly by choice. As the 2000s arrived, the world shifted to digital media and social platforms, making it even easier for her to remain hidden. New generations discovered The Shining on DVD or streaming services, but had little idea what became of the haunted-eyed actress who'd poured her soul into that role. It was only in 2016 that Shelley's reclusiveness burst into public discourse again, in a way that troubled many fans. She appeared on an episode of Dr. Phil, looking disoriented and frail, discussing her mental health concerns in a manner that viewers found exploitative. The segment sparked outrage. Some accused the show of sensationalizing a vulnerable woman's struggles for ratings. Others felt heartbreak, remembering the luminous actress who once lit up the screen. Although the interview brought negative attention, it also reignited interest in Shelley's well-being. Fans demanded more compassionate support for her, calling for the industry to step in and offer help. In that sense, it was a bittersweet moment. People were reminded not just of her iconic roles, but of her humanity, her fragility. After that troubling television appearance, Shelley again retreated from public view. But whispers continued, especially among online communities that sprang up to discuss classic cinema. Fans traded anecdotes about meeting her or swapped rumored updates on her condition, always expressing hope for a happier outcome. The documentary Room 237, 2012, which analyzed all the labyrinthine theories surrounding The Shining, also fueled conversation about Shelley's experience on the Kubrick set. More recent appraisals began to see her performance as a cornerstone of the film's lasting power, praising her bravery in enduring a notoriously punishing filming process. In a way, time was rewriting her place in cinema history, elevating her from quirky supporting actress to a bona fide star who had given everything she had to some of the era's most memorable movies. Then came 2023, and with it, a jolt of excitement for longtime admirers. Shelley Duvall was making a cautious return to acting, set to appear in the independent horror film, The Forest Hills. When news broke, it felt like a collective gasp among her fans. Could this be real? Was Shelley ready to step back on set after decades away? And if so, how was she doing? Early glimpses suggested that this wasn't a full-scale comeback, but rather a small, heartfelt step that allowed her to reconnect with the craft she once loved. Word spread that she was more stable than she had been in years, buoyed by a renewed sense of purpose. For people who'd followed her struggles, this news was both thrilling and emotional. They remembered the bright spark she brought to the movies of the 1970s and 1980s. It was almost as though Hollywood, which had long forgotten her, was suddenly extending a gentle hand, acknowledging the talent and creativity she'd offered so many years ago. This late career surprise resonated powerfully because Shelley's life story had grown increasingly mythic. The heartbreak, the breakdowns, the rumors of isolation, all of it created an image of a lost star, overshadowed by her iconic roles. Now seeing her come forward to do even a small film offered hope. It suggested that healing might be possible, and that one can reclaim dignity and voice after being thrust into the harshest of spotlight. Fans waited with bated breath to see if her performance would recall the same depth that made Three Women and The Shining so unforgettable. In many ways, Shelley Duvall helped shape an era of filmmaking that prized authenticity, emotional rawness, and a willingness to be different, qualities sometimes lacking in the polished blockbusters of recent decades. Her unusual looks, her gentle manner, and her sense of wonder made her relatable in ways that conventional Hollywood starlets could never match. She was a muse to Robert Altman, yet more importantly, she was a muse to countless viewers who saw in her performances a reflection of life's awkward charm. Through fairy tale theater, she invited entire families into imaginative worlds, bridging the gap between adult cinema and children's entertainment. Younger performers cite her as an influence, especially those who embrace roles that celebrate vulnerability and emotional honesty over glamour. Her mental health struggles and near-total withdrawal from Hollywood serve as a sobering reminder of the toll the industry can take. We've heard the cautionary tales about other sensitive artists who found themselves unable to cope with constant demands. Shelley's story underscores that fame is not always a blessing. It can be a pressure cooker for those unprepared or unwilling to be consumed by it. That she chose to step back rather than burn out in public was an act of self-preservation, even if it came at the cost of losing the career momentum she had built. Despite the popularity of her big films, there are corners of her career that many people aren't familiar with. For instance, her 1979 performance in Bernice Bob's Her Hair, an adaptation of an F. Scott Fitzgerald story for television, showcased her comedic timing and flair for period pieces. Another lesser-known gem is her role in Mother Goose Rockin' Rhyme, 1990, a children's fantasy that combined nursery rhyme characters with live-action segments. In that production, she displayed the same whimsical spirit she poured into fairy tale theater, showing how wholeheartedly she could throw herself into creating imaginative realms for younger audiences. While these might not be the credits that appear at the top of her resume, they offer a deeper look at her range and the playful side of her creativity. Friends and co-stars from her more active years have mostly kind words to share when her name comes up. Sissy Spacek, who worked with her on Three Women, once spoke affectionately of Shelley's kindness and genuine curiosity about everything around her. Robin Williams was equally fond, recalling that on the set of Popeye, Shelley's sense of humor and encouraging words helped him navigate the challenges of portraying a live-action cartoon character. Although many of these colleagues lost touch with her when she withdrew, they still express hope for her well-being whenever interviewed. Even the crew members on the chaotic set of The Shining eventually recognized the toll that prolonged filming took on her, reflecting on her endurance with admiration and sadness. As we circle back to the question from the beginning, how does a gentle soul handle the glare of fame and the demands of an industry that rarely takes no for an answer? Shelley's story gives us a bittersweet answer. She soared high during the New Hollywood era, delivering unforgettable performances under the guidance of visionary directors like Robert Altman and Stanley Kubrick. But she also faced emotional turmoil, culminating in a retreat from the public eye that lasted decades. For a time, it seemed her star had burned out completely. Yet here we are, discussing an unexpected reappearance in 2023, a new film, a renewed sense of acknowledgement. It is a tribute to her resilience and her enduring appeal that people still care deeply about her well-being and her art. Her life in many ways stands as a testament to the cost of being different in Hollywood and how some personalities, no matter how talented, struggle to navigate the machine. It's also a testament to creative freedom. Her early collaborations with Altman captured a fleeting moment in cinema history when directors and actors experimented boldly, unconstrained by focus groups or franchise demands. In that sense, Shelley Duvall is truly a symbol of New Hollywood, raw, unfiltered, and shining with an authenticity that modern filmmaking sometimes lacks. Even though her filmography might not be as vast as some of her contemporaries, each role she played was tinged with an earnestness that continues to move viewers today. Her comedic timing in Popeye, her terror in The Shining, her vulnerability in Three Women, these moments all confirm the singular space she occupies in American film history. Her struggles with mental health have sparked crucial conversations about how the industry handles or mishandles artists in crisis. The Dr. Phil episode, despite its exploitative framing, did serve as a wake-up call for many fans who realized that the whimsical star they had adored was suffering quietly. It also prompted a new wave of compassion, with people calling for better mental health care support for former celebrities. Shelley's experience serves as a grim reminder that success does not shield someone from illness, loneliness, or despair. At the same time, her journey highlights the compassion that can emerge from fans and the film community once the curtain is pulled back. Over the years, various film retrospectives and festivals have honored her roles. In these tributes, critics and historians highlight how pioneering her performances were. They talk about the authenticity she brought, how it predated the more polished but less daring styles of subsequent decades. Indeed, if you watch interviews with younger actors inspired by her, they often mention her bravery in fully inhabiting a character's emotional landscape, even when it meant crossing into truly uncomfortable terrain. For them, Shelley exemplified the best of New Hollywood, risk-taking sincerity and an indifference to conventional glamour. One particularly touching memory comes from a fan who attended a small film festival in the late 1980s. Shelley was there to promote a lesser-known project. After the screening, she stayed for an informal Q&A. Instead of standing on stage, she walked around the small theater with a microphone in hand, making eye contact with each person asking a question. She even sat down beside a shy teenage girl to answer her query as if they were sharing a secret. She talked with real warmth about her cast and crew, pointing out that the success of any project depended on collaboration and kindness. Decades later, that fan still cherishes the memory, describing Shelley Duvall as someone who treated everyone with an uncommon degree of warmth and respect. In the end, Shelley Duvall's journey resonates as both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope. It cautions us that a gentle heart can be bruised by the relentless demands of fame, especially in an era that prized raw authenticity, yet offered little protection to those who bared their souls on camera. But it also inspires hope, reminding us that even a star once believed to be lost can find a new chapter. It might not be a triumphant Hollywood comeback, but it can be something more profound, a quiet re-entry to the craft she loved, a chance to reclaim her narrative on her own terms. For those of us who have admired her from afar, we can feel nothing but gratitude that she's still here, reminding us that behind every legend lies a human being, fragile and hopeful, capable of both darkness and light. If we look at her story with empathy, we might just discover a deeper respect for the artists who dare to reveal their souls, and a renewed understanding that true kindness can help heal even the deepest scars. As we reflect on all she's given us, we hold on to the hope that Shelley Duvall can continue to find moments of peace, creativity, and recognition in the twilight of a life unlike any other. And that's all for today's video. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, let us know your thoughts in the comments section, and subscribe so you won't miss out on future uploads. See you next time.